Greetings to all. I remember reading a story. There was once a monk who called his young disciple and asked him, "What would you do if you found a 100-rupee note on the road?" The young boy said, "Guruji, I would look around, and if no one is looking, I'll keep the money for myself." The monk said, "You're a very honest boy, but you have lost your integrity." This is a little about mastering your inner establishment. I was brought up in an upper middle class family. My grandfathers, paternal and maternal, were both doctors. I lived in a harmonious family with my parents, my elder sister, and my elder brother. I had lots of uncles and aunts and cousins in plenty. In fact, my paternal cousins, we are 12 in number, and we are called the dirty dozen. My parents gave me the best education possible. They put me in convents and chose a very good university for my higher education. My father had a transferable job, and he moved from Kanpur in the north to Kanyakumari in the south. Being the youngest lot, I was taken along with my parents wherever they went. And by the time I could complete 10 classes, I have moved to 12 schools. Well, my father would only give the progress card and the transfer certificate to me and would say, "This is where I would want you to study. Go get your admission." And I had to talk my way, talk to the reverend sisters, and get my admission. It was not that I was brilliant in academics. I was a very average student. I was poor in numbers and good in the other subjects. But this gave me a lot of my PR skills, and it also instilled in me coping skills, adaptability, perseverance, and hard work. My parents also stressed a lot on character ethic, the qualities like fidelity, integrity, sincerity, honesty, modesty, and patience. My father never used to like me looking into the mirror. He would say, "Geetha, I think you're wasting your time. It should be more of inner mastery for outside impact." And speaking lies was punishable in our house. And my mother, on the other hand, would tell me a lot of stories. I still remember the story of the oak tree and the bamboo tree. The oak tree was mighty and strong and very proud of its external appearance. And my mother said, once there was a big storm in the forest. The oak tree was totally disrupted, but the bamboo tree shifted and swerved and bent, and it could resist the storm. And she would say, character is not being loud and rude. Character is being humble and resilient, and the softest are the strongest. Well, with all these inputs, my journey began with all the grounded values. I, for one, believe that to master your inner establishment, you require 3 bones: the wishbone, the backbone, and the soul bone. Wishbone talks about my ambition, my desire, the hope, the optimism, and the belief in the law of attraction. I remember when I was in my primary school, my parents gave me a comic, Alauddin and His Wonderful Lamp. I have read this book so many times, and Alauddin was my hero, and the prop, the lamp, I really loved it. And whenever I was in a sort of a fix, whether I would pass my math exam, etc., I would go silently, take a lamp from a cupboard and rub it, and would say, "I wish I could pass the math exam. I wish I could get a prize in this extempo competition." Well, all my wishes were fulfilled, and I started believing in Alauddin and His Wonderful Lamp. And I started sending lots of wishes to the universe, and they were all getting fulfilled. I remember many incidents this way. When I was young again, the 9 p.m. news broadcast on All India Radio, we had to listen to it. I would never understand anything of the English news which was broadcast. But at that time, I used to think how nice it would be if I could read news on All India Radio. 35 years after this, I became a news broadcaster in All India Radio and later on into the Doordarshan. Well, my dream was fulfilled. And the second most important incident I remember because of my wishbone. I had an uncle from my paternal side, tall, handsome, well educated, extremely dignified, and very humane. And his name was Shankar. He used to carry me when I was young. And I came of a marriageable age. My parents started looking out for alliances. And after fixing a particular bridegroom, they came to me and said, I wish you could talk to him. I spoke to him. He had all the qualities my uncle had. And his name was also Shankar. Wow, I said. And he became the Krishna of my dreams and my husband in my life. The third incident is when my husband was transferred to the Gulf. I went along with him and I was looking out for a job, and I saw an advertisement in Oman Times which said a very reputed institute requires a bilingual trainer to head the business management studies. I applied for this, and after 10 days, I received a call from them asking me to come for a discussion. I went there. I remember it was the first day of Ramadan. I entered into that institute. I felt as if I was entering into a monastery. Everything looked familiar to me. And when I was asked to go to the first floor, business management studies, I walked up the stairs. Again, it gave me a very familiar feeling. I went into the room, the long cupboard stacked, the wooden table, the chairs gave me a very familiar feeling. And I kept telling myself, I have seen this somewhere, I have seen this somewhere. I went through the discussion. The only wish I had at that time was, I wish I could sit on the other side. Exactly 3 months after this, I became the director of business management studies in Polyglot Institute, Oman. And Oman Business Review also covered my interview. Gosh, what was happening to me? Every wish of mine was getting fulfilled. I felt as if the universe was having its back towards me. And the timeline was also decreasing. What took 35 years came down to 3 months. And now it hardly takes 3 months. 3 days it takes now. Well, that is about the wishbone. The second most important bone, I believe, is my backbone, the Mooladhar in me, the Lord Ganesha in me, who helps me to stand tall and upright. And in spite of the numerous failures I've had in my life, all the failures, I think, they were whispers of opportunity. And it led me to a beautiful transformation. And I transformed from a cocoon to a butterfly. There were no setbacks, I would say, my dear friends. It was only alignment within me. My inner freedom allowed me to choose my attitudes and responses. And I fought, or I dealt with every situation, not with fear, not with courage, but with reverence. The third most important bone, I would call it as the soul bone. And it talks about my values, it talks about the morality I follow, and it talks about the ethics which I would like to adhere to. The challenge is not the value, the challenge is execution against the value. Sometimes I'm forced to give a compliment to someone which I don't mean at all. Or at times, I need to express my concern to a person which I don't feel. Or even tell a person, I will think about it, though I would have frozen the matter. The effort that goes into it is monumental, and this talks about my inner establishment. Well, Life is management for me, managing my physical, social, mental, emotional, and my spiritual well being of my personality. Well, if I'm going to decide everything based on economics, I bet my life is going to be a gross or a failure. My five senses help me to tune with the physical world, and I take a decision based on the perceptions I have or based on somebody's feedback. But for my inner journey, there's nothing like that. I need to find authenticity or I need to be recognized for this. This means I have to have heightened self awareness, and it requires a lot of energy. Energy, when I say, my energy has to be conserved, which means I have to reduce the quantity of the negative thoughts which are in me. Because every negative thought I am going to nurture, I'll have to let go my positive thoughts. Like what Buddha said, if you are having a hot charcoal in your hand and you're angry with someone and you want to throw it on them, first you need to burn your hands first. So, conservation of energy is the first most important step in my energy. The second one, I need to reduce the energy dissipation, which means there is no chance for me to have an emotional tsunami. And I need to practice emotional fasting and emotional feasting. And the third one is, I need to grow my energy, which means my lifetime choices. The same thing about energy is what is told in our Upanishads. The Upanishads talk about Shakti, Viryam, and Deva Prakriti. Shakti is ordinary energy. It is ordinary because we live in a cultural scape and our energy gets diluted because every time I'm disturbed by the society, my environment, the peers, the media, who keep feeding me with lots of ideas, and my energy gets reduced, and hence the energy is ordinary or Shakti. Viryam is a higher form of energy where I'm more focused. My goals, I know the path where I'm going on into, and all this requires higher form and energy. My energy doesn't get diluted, and this is Viryam. The third stage is Deva Prakriti. Deva Prakriti is not my energy, it is the divine energy, and it is the soul's desire, not mine. I do not enter into any of this fear. It is my soul which takes my place. When this happens in Deva Prakriti, infinite possibilities open. I am more tuned to higher goals, higher values, and humanity. And there is envisioning, there is unity, there is love, and there is collectivity, and there is nothing personal about it. Everything is absolute bliss. There is no remorse, there is no hatred, and there is no prejudice. The minute I let go the need to resolve my life, the universe brings infinite abundance to me. How do I know that I'm on the path of Deva Prakriti? I become biologically younger, my energy increases, my vitality doubles. And this is to show that I'm in the path of Deva Prakriti, or there is inner management within me. Well, my dear friends, I'm participating in my own evolution. I no longer survive, I expand. I no longer chase, I align. I no longer force, I allow. And I no longer doubt, I decide. Well, gratitude in plenty to St. Paul's College, who's arranged this talk, and gratitude in plenty to my parents, my family, my well wishers, my teachers, and lots to my gurus who have helped me or helping me to come on into this path. Well, I'm again reminded of my Barbara teacher in the second standard. She taught me a song of Doris Day's. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera, what will be, will be. Thank you.